speeches that were much more poignant on that occasion. And the names, you apologise, I haven't got the names with me, but we listened to a young man who was 30 years old, who had been incarcerated for 5 years, who came to tell us of his experiences, and a young woman, 18 years old, whose father is incarcerated. I don't know whether it's maybe in prison or one of the others, but incarcerated somewhere in Iran. Okay. And her own memories of as a child, of her father being incarcerated in prison for daring, let's be quite clear, for daring to question the legitimacy of that regime in Iran. I say that for me, human rights and the capacity of me as an individual to stand here, albeit in the House of Commons, and make a speech freely to you is a privilege I enjoy. But it's a privilege I'm entitled to as a British citizen as well. And that is precisely the kind of entitlement that we demand of the people for the people of Iran. No young people should go through what those two brave individuals who have now mercifully escaped the country to come and tell us of the horrors that they have endured. I want at the outset just to dispel one other myth that is perpetrated around this place and around the capitals of various European cities and around the world as well. And the myth, and I emphasise the myth, goes like this. It is that somehow the PMI represent a tiny wedge of opinion. That somehow Madame Rajavi doesn't represent anybody other than herself. That somehow the word cult applies to the cause of human rights and the PMI, the quest for democracy. That is what's said around the capitals of Europe and in Washington and elsewhere. And I simply say to you, maybe 60 or 70 of us crammed in to the CPA rooms in the House of Commons. Have we all got it wrong?
No.
Have the maybe 2,000, maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 people who were there in Paris last Saturday, have they all got it wrong? Have the 100,000 plus people who cram in the most terrible sweaty conditions in the football stadia around the great city of Paris, have they all got it wrong? Of course they haven't got it wrong. What they've all got is a conscience and a repugnance at what we see going on. The most basic human rights being denied fellow citizens in another part of the world. And that's the cause. We need to remind people, it's not a cult, it's not about individuals. What it is a movement, a democratic, secular movement demanding change. And the reason why so many of those voices have to be heard outside the great civilization, outside Iran, the reason why those voices have to be heard outside the country is because the voices inside the country are denied the opportunity to shout themselves. And that's why we have to do what we have to do. If you ever want to look at the signs, don't worry, that's prayer, not funny. If you ever want to look at the regime that is worrying, that a regime is anxious, a regime that fears for its future, then look at the preponderance of mass arrests, of increased executions, of intensified censorship of the media, of the internet. They are signs of fright. They are signs of fright within Iran, and that is what is happening. I want to turn, as I did on that Saturday in Paris, briefly to the situation about Camp Liberty and Ashraf. And again, do not be in any doubt of the motivation behind the regime and their Iraqi friends do not be in any doubt. They know that Ashraf and liberty and the people within represent a beacon of hope, represent a beacon of democracy and civilised human rights. That is why they have used every tool at their disposal. We've heard about the medical blockade. We now hear reports of insurgents masquerading as family members attempting to go to Liberty to undermine Camp Liberty from within. And one of the most graphic images I have since that conference in Paris, in a booklet we were presented. In fact, no, I correct myself, it was in Struan Stevenson's book that I've read since that time in Paris. And that was a picture of liberty and a picture of Ashraf. And when my colleague Tony Clark, Lord Clark of Hampstead, used the term, the very emotive term, concentration camp, in one of our earlier meetings, I thought it was somewhat over the top. I thought it was a bit extreme. Some maybe it still is. But compare those pictures of the society, the decent community that was created in Ashraf, and the concrete bollards and the loudspeakers protruding into the community of Liberty. A camp of imaginable horrors, indeed, Liberty is. Now, I just want to end. I see another one of my great colleagues, and there are other colleagues on this platform, very distinguished colleagues, who are grateful to be here today. Just two quotes, one from Maki Mandela, who said, and that was a compelling speech in Paris, when she spoke of what it was like as a young woman enduring the fact that her father, of course, was incarcerated in prison all those years. No amount of death penalty, she said, will stop an idea whose time has come and a nation determined to be free. If that was a message that was proven right for South Africa, it is of course a message that will stand the test of time for Iran.